So I'm going to talk to you about fundraising for the month of June, which is all about 30 Days Wild, which is an initiative that's done annually by the Wildlife Trusts. And so my two ideas are around bees and birds and what we can do to support them during this wildlife month, whilst also making a profit. Now, firstly, what I would say is that as a PTA and a school, I think there has to be, like any money-making idea or business, there needs to be a small amount put away for investment purposes. And what I mean by that is, in order for some fundraising things to work, you will need to buy some things up front. And you won't be able to do that unless you have a small pocket of money to be able to do that in the first place. So what I'm going to talk to you about first of all is, firstly, we're going to talk about bee bombs. So there are loads of ways to do this. So if I just talk to you briefly about what it is, you can decide if and how to do it. So there are people, and I can link in somebody that I know who's in the Southend area, who collects natural wildflower seeds, and she sells them as bee bags already made in reused cotton and string, basically. So you could easily buy them at perhaps a wholesale price with her, and you could sell it on to make a profit. So you could be done as easy as that. Buy it as it is, sell it on, up the price, get profit. You could also do that in a more creative way with the children as part of a lesson. So you could buy a bulk of seeds, wildflower seeds, from the same lady or anywhere else you decide to get them from. And you could get the children to make their own. So you could encourage children to bring in scraps of material, perhaps themselves, and then they make their own. So they could scoop out a spoonful, put it in the bee bag, tie it up. They might be able to write on it. They might be able to write a little card. It could be a gift for somebody, for example. Father's Day's coming up, for example, in June as well. So then they could do that. The other thing, if you wanted to go one step further in kind of more creativity and really involve it in perhaps lesson around art, perhaps, or even science, is looking at investing in clay and compost in making your own biodegradable bags. So, or not even bags, bombs, basically. So you would put some seeds in the compost, and that compost would go in a little bit of clay. So you would do the clay first, have a ring of it, soil in the middle with some seeds on top, and then you wrap it up into a clay ball. That obviously stays soft. You don't obviously put it in a kiln or anything, and that clay is just natural, like clay in the ground, and you can gorilla bomb that and put it somewhere you want it to grow. So there are different ways of doing it, of different levels of complexity and time, for example. But the idea is that you, as I say, you'd invest some of that money into buying the seeds, the soil, the clay, whatever it was, but also getting donations. Like I always suggest asking for donations. I mean, you won't know unless you ask. So definitely, so that's one way of doing it. Okay, so let's talk about birds and bird feeders. It's a similar concept. So you could get donations of various things to make bird feeders with. So that could be from orange peels. You can make, a little cup, put seeds in the middle, and then get some string. Again, donations of string to hang them up. You could get half coconuts. So I use old bird feeders, coconut shells, to refill with my own ones. So coconut shells. You can even really random things like jars, and even I've seen people use cups and saucers, and they find ways of hanging them. It could get really creative depending on the age of your children and how complex you want to go into it. And obviously they can then be sold on as beautiful bird feeders. And again, for 30 Days Wild, it's a great time to do that. That could be done on the school run, have a stall outside, outside class for parents to buy. Obviously, you've got to think about the COVID restrictions at the time to make sure it's safe, but it can be done safely. even if that's one bubble at a time, go and buy things. So again, you will need some money to invest, but you can make bird feeders out of things like lard, and I bought mine this week by about 33p a block of lard from Tesco, I think. Again, cheap kind of porridge oats can be good for bird feeders, and then obviously some good quality bird seed as well to mix in with it. But again, ask for donations as much as you can. You might be able to ask a local pet shop, for example, maybe not your big chains, but maybe a small independent one that might be willing to donate you something in exchange for promotion through your school newsletter or something. So it does take a bit of effort to try and get people to donate stuff to you, but it's either that or have a bigger chunk of money to invest first of all in these activities. So that's 2 ideas to make money in the month of June for 30 Days Wild. And if you don't want to do it in June, of course you can do it any time of year. Bye for now.